Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wowhead Weekly number 265. Happy April, everyone. Since we are in April, we just passed April Fools, and of course, we will cover all the different pranks that was covered on the different websites and especially the ones on Wowhead's site itself. We will also talk about the 9-1 PTR announcement, which was almost a week ago now. So that is coming up soon, which is very exciting for us who are waiting for new content to be here. We'll also talk a little bit about classic and anything else that has been happening in the past week. Before we jump into anything though, let me introduce myself. I'm Annie, or also known as Annie Fuchsia, and my co-host is the lovely Perculia, who right now has a guest on her lap.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Perk. I am joined by Brightpaw. If you were following along with our April Fool's pranks, you probably know who Brightpaw is, especially with our Discord giveaway. He is a very opinionated cat. We're very happy he's joined us. And as for me, I run Wowhead, a lot of behind the scenes stuff, but it's always fun to do this show once per week and let you know what's going on, what are the popular topics, answer some questions, and highlight anything new on the site. And it's a really fun week for that because April 1st is a really fun time for everyone on Wowhead. And we go all out with fake items, fake models, things that look like Blizzard made, which we actually made instead, and we get to talk about behind the scenes for that. So I'm gonna put the cat down since he's getting rambunctious. Bright
Yeah.
Paw.
He's like, that's
Good
the
boy.
intro done, okay? I'm
Yeah.
off now.
Okay, Bright Paw.
Job
Okay.
done.
No, moving your leg. No, 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 no. Don't get your headset in my leg. Okay, now
Oh,
you can go
the
down.
cables. Yeah.
So, but yeah, now that Bright Paw is off sleeping in the sun,
hmm
why don't we talk about the serious 9-1 news before we get into April 1st? Because we've had a lot of speculation on it, and now we actually have a statement from Blizzard.
Yeah, we have an actual update, and that is specifically that the PTR, with words from Blizzard, says in about 2 weeks we will have Chains of Domination available for the community on the PTR. It says in about 2 weeks, and this happened 6 days ago, so this is just over a week away now, potentially. Um, we normally
Yes.
expect, on what weekdays do we normally expect PTRs to come up?
So we normally expect them midweek, like usually Wednesdays or Thursdays.
Okay.
Monday, everyone gets back from the office, strange
Mm-hmm.
things happen, like we saw with Burning Crusade Classic. Lots of messy,
Yeah.
strange things happened.
Yep.
Right, Paul, what are you doing? He just slept in
Oh.
the air. He cares about 9-1. Tuesday is
Yep, he
usually
does.
reset day. And yeah, like Wednesdays and Thursdays are usually when they highlight stuff, with Thursdays and Fridays being raid testing. So like late Wednesday, early Thursday is usually when they do it.
Okay, so with the
So
words of in about 2 weeks, we can probably expect it to be up on the 14th or 15th,
yeah,
unless
I think
something
that
goes
makes sense.
seriously wrong.
Yeah, I mean the potential is there for things to go seriously wrong, seeing how Burning Crusade, had very several false starts with the beta.
Oh, yeah, I
Um,
remember.
but also, I mean, they said they were aiming, and stuff could always um, be delayed
Mm hmm.
as a result.
Mm hmm.
Um, they also said that raid testing would likely start the week after, so the week of the 19th. And yeah, I'm wondering if we're going to get any details leading up to it, like a blue post, or an Ian video like he did in BFA for 8.3, like a 20-minute summary of what was coming on the PTR to test.
Mm
I
hmm.
wonder if they'll try to do some more polished things to push back against all the rumors that people heard secondhand that this was like meant to be in June and now it's later, or people guessing. I wonder if they're going to do more stuff to sort of try to control their own narrative and make it seem like things are on schedule, or explain the reason for the delay.
Mm hmm. Yeah, because there's been a lot of talk in the community across all the different platforms. People talking about it on streams, people talking about it on YouTube, Twitter. Everyone is talking about Blizzard is being delayed. And this PTR news was a sigh of relief for a lot of people because we were wondering when is the PTR going to be here because we need an idea of when 9.1 is here because there isn't anything else I can do in the game, so I want some more
Yeah.
content. Which is funny on a very random side note on this. I saw a tweet. I cannot remember who it was, but they were making fun of how in BFA people were so tired of needing to farm so many islands, and now people are tired of Shadowlands because they have nothing to farm. But yeah, I can imagine having that type of battle all the time as a dev for Blizzard as well, finding that correct balance where people feel engaged but they don't feel like they have to grind too much and still enjoy the time between the content patches, because that's the thing too, like we shouldn't have to constantly have new raids and new dungeons to enjoy World of Warcraft in in a perfect world. But yeah, it seems like people are waiting for the new patch to come here so that we can get all the new goodies to cover. And with PTR being here on the week of April 12th, what does that tell us about the potential date of the patch itself?
Yeah, so just one quick side detour. When you mention islands, I think that's interesting because people would complain about islands, but now when you complain, like when you compare Twisting Corridor rewards to islands, people are like, man, like BFA was amazing for transmog in retrospect. Like it had so many varied rewards. Like I miss BFA style rewards. So I think that's interesting because Shadowlands was billed as, all this customization and things to collect, but people feel they can't go out and get it because Torghast doesn't have many rewards,
Yeah.
and a lot of the other rewards are gated by anima, and that it doesn't feel very exciting to uh, farm. You don't really
Mm-hmm.
feel like you're in control of things unless you try to do world quest for hours each day.
I remember some people at the beginning when Torghast was still kind of new, when they were like, Blizzard, why can't we just farm Stygia in Torghast? And then somebody else pointed out, like, oh, you mean farm a specific type of instance for sockets? I think I've heard that
Right.
before, and people complained. And it's funny because where do you find the right balance? It must be so difficult making those type of
Yeah,
decisions.
but yeah, to
Um,
answer your question,
mhm.
when do we think this? What does this mean for the patch? So in an ideal world, like if there wasn't COVID, we have seen mid-April to late June PTR cycles. That was patch 8.2
Mhm.
around this time. Uh in BFA, like was it 2 years ago at this point? We had like a little press event where influencers played the patch, interviewed Ian, gave their thoughts, and then a week later it went up on the PTR, and then it was out by June, raid in July. For 8.1, it was a bit more staggered where we got the preview in September and then it was out in December, but that was still under like 3 months. That was still under 3 months, and that was a huge patch because that had, Dazara lore in the second half of it as well. And then with 8.3, again, that was a little longer, but we also had BlizzCon in the mix, Shadowlands announced, and with the raid coming out, they wanted to avoid Christmas, so I feel like it could have been out a little earlier, but they wanted to avoid a Christmas release for all that.
Yeah,
So
I'm like looking
it,
here at the dates that you were talking about and like counting in my head, and yeah, they're all
yeah.
between 2 to 3 months between them. With the short one being the April to June one of 8.2. Sorry, and I think I interrupted you. I just wanted to
Oh no, no,
point
that's
that
that.
out.
I was pulling it up too, but yeah, I mean, I think that shows that in like a perfect environment,
Mm-hmm.
they can do a quick turnaround. Now, will COVID affect things? I think it's possible.
Probably. Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, in BFA they made it seem like A2 took longer because they had to create a system to replace, revitalize Azerite. But now it seems that with Shadowlands, they ran into other unexpected system problems, or maybe they wouldn't call them problems. Maybe they'll be like, "Oh, we realize that they're really complex, so we need more time on them. So I feel like there's a similar BFA parallel where um we don't they're not making Azerite essences this time, but they're, I don't know, trying to balance soul binds and all these complicated raid systems.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, in like a few interviews, they're hinting that they want to make like raid gear the best in raiding, and like PvP the best in PvP, and like all these
Mm-hmm.
things sound like mini new systems that they need to test out. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if June sounds possible with COVID and like the new systems they're trying to get out, but maybe July sounds doable. Um, I
Yeah,
think we'll have a
three
better
months.
sense
Mm-hmm.
once we see it on the PTR. Like if we zone in and it's like, oh, new zone isn't open for testing, just queue up for the raid. We've data mined some spells, and it's like, yeah, it's gonna be a while. But if we log on to the PTR and they're like, oh, it's been, a more polished version than what you're used to, then maybe it will be faster. But it did seem really early at BlizzCon Line. I mean, normally when there's a BlizzCon and they announce a patch, you get to play a little
See a bit
demo of
more.
it,
Yeah, yeah.
or
Try
they've
it
got
out.
like, yeah, or like when Ian does the video, like you see like in-game footage or a lot of concept art of the raid and the zones. And we had some of the concept art of the mounts, but we didn't really have that, like, here's a little fly through of the new zone and pictures of the raid. We didn't have any of that stuff, so it
No.
seemed like it was um more behind. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I almost wonder, I mean, they could something like, oh, we're gonna try to get like one part out earlier, and then maybe stagger some of the things that take more like systems work to sort out. I wonder if they'll do that. But yeah, I do think that July is possible. I think the late August was maybe a little doom and gloom, but I understand why people were worried about that with how Blizzard said absolutely nothing. Uh,
Yeah.
so
Isn't
Bright
that
Paw
bright
just
pot?
caught a fly. I know,
Oh,
I'm
I could
hearing
hear
this stuff.
something.
Yeah,
I guess he just jumped and slapped it in the air.
he did.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I do think Blizzard needs to communicate more about what's going on, because when they don't, people still keep talking about WoW and they'll fill it with their own speculation, especially
Yeah.
when
Mm-hmm.
it's a time when Blizzard is like, oh, just, our, I don't know these people at Activision, but they're just firing everyone. Like it's, like there's not great industry
Yeah.
news, as we discussed last week.
Mm-hmm.
And people, the discourse is all going to be around, um, you know, sort of unpleasant things
Mm-hmm.
or people noticing the delays. And if Blizzard says nothing, that is what people are going to focus on. And if
Yeah,
they were
that's
more honest and
mm-hmm.
transparent, I think that could be better.
Yeah, that's actually interesting because, like you mentioned, like we have seen and heard so many different type of rumors about the delays. We covered some last show, but there's even more rumors out there, and the question then becomes, should Blizzard address them? And maybe, like you said, if they had been more transparent, people would panic less and feel a bit more comfortable knowing what is going on. If there was a delay, maybe hearing that there's going to be a delay feels better than not hearing anything. And if there is no delay, it's nice to have that confirmed as well. I wonder why. Maybe from. Do you think from a company perspective, if they're not sure themselves, they don't dare say anything?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of PR red tape. Just like whenever you see people doing, retrospectives at Blizzard, it's like, oh, like we thought about doing this, but there were PR issues. Like one example that comes to mind is, I forget who was talking on Twitter, but some employees were talking about how they thought it would be fun to do a Blizzard panel on like a day in the life of QA, and they would show some of the horrible bugs they caught, and funny images. But then there was a PR concern that they could look like the games were poor quality, or it could reflect badly, or people could use it negatively. So they didn't do a panel, but I think that would be really interesting and could help show how
Mm-hmm.
QA has a very important role.
Mm-hmm.
um so I don't know, I feel like I feel like, that a developer might want to talk about how things are slower with COVID, but I feel like at a corporate level, things get more impersonal, and they view things like that as a form of weakness. Even though I think it's refreshing to be like, hey, so with COVID, stuff takes twice as long. Like,
Yeah.
here's playtesting used to be we all go into the room and play and yell at each other when we see something cool. And now, like, it takes all this setup and it's awkward. And, like, I think it would be cool to just show why something takes longer and, like, lean into it as opposed to, um, you know, being more walled off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
I see a lot of
um,
comments in the chat as well about all the PR things. Yeah, there's been a lot of PR things going on lately on all different types
yeah.
of topics on the game itself, like, the things outside the game, the industry. There's been so many things going on.
Yeah, I mean, another good example of things happening and Blizzard not saying stuff is that data mined Burning Crusade mount.
Yeah,
It's just like people are, panicking. It's going to be like, like, is this a
a
gateway
store
to
mount.
shop items, or they're going to
Mm-hmm.
be more things? And it's just like, it's there and they're not saying anything.
Mm-hmm.
And they deliberately put it in the data. They didn't encrypt it or anything. It's out there and proud. And just,
Yeah.
people are, it feels like that just would be a really easy thing for Blizzard to say something about, but they
Mm-hmm.
haven't.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
and I thought that maybe at the start of COVID, they were doing pretty well, I thought, with the communication. Maybe
During
that
alpha,
was, yeah, like, maybe that was set up before COVID, and then, like, we
things
saw the
started
fruits of the
catching up.
labor.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, like, I thought it was really cool how they were going on streams
It was
and the
really
devs were
good.
answering. And it wasn't just like PR lines, it was like, we data mined a model. Is this the jailer? Like, they were actually answering questions about parts of the game, or like very hyper specific features that they normally wouldn't cover in an interview. So I thought
Mm-hmm.
that was good.
Mm-hmm.
And then, maybe
And
that
then
they
it became
realized
kind of
that,
quiet later.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but I think stuff like that is important to, just come across as humans, because we've all been struggling with COVID. A lot of people have had, productivity issues, or,
Mm-hmm.
you're at home, but you feel like you don't have a break, and, or, you think it's great. You can set your own hours. Then you realize that it's like a pain to do, meetings and coordinate with people versus just talking in the same room as them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think pulling back the curtain is a thing that people like doing, and I think that's why Twitch is also popular to a certain extent. Like, it feels very, like, realistic and personal, and game devs being all corporate is, it doesn't, like, resonate as much.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like, I'm sure people at Blizzard want to say more, but you can't just have, like, renegade blue posts discussing issues with
Yeah.
9-1 or whatever. So
It's probably a process too, to have things accepted and go through maybe
mm-hmm.
potential reviews and different lines of things. And that's another thing too, when people do complain, to be careful not to like complain directly at devs, for example, because
Right.
sometimes like things go a bit higher than that. Maybe sometimes they're not able to comment on things. So I think it's important to remember that aspect too.
Yeah. So um yeah, I feel like we should be more, just extend compassion to the devs, but also it would be great if Blizzard could react more promptly, because it does seem that whenever they have to do top level things with PR, it gets horribly muddled. Like, even the whole like, AWC toy, like, oh, fine print, we didn't need to say anything that the prize pool was not being
Yeah.
accentuated by us. Like, they just sort of have these things constantly pop up, and maybe some corporate person doesn't really think it affects the bottom line, and maybe, like, user happiness isn't a metric that they can quantify and say, oh, if they're happier we make more money. But
Yeah, it's difficult to prove. Mm-hmm.
yeah, like, as a player, like, you want to or like, as a player, like on the front lines, you want people to feel happier because like it's important even if it's not part of like a money formula.
Mm-hmm.
So um
Indeed.
but yeah, looking forward to 9-1. Hopefully we see some good stuff
Mm-hmm.
with the patch.
Mm-hmm.
Um and we see what the raid looks like. The new Maw zone hopefully looks prettier. Hopefully alt or anima improve.
Yeah,
Um
I need more
yeah.
ways to farm anima, please, Blizzard. Right now,
Yeah.
it is painful, and I need to farm it on all different covenants too. So, I've got a long, long trip ahead of me. Would be nice if you make that trip a little bit shorter so I can do other things in the game.
But yeah, so with that, why don't we highlight Wowhead and then
Oh, you're cutting out.
Blizzard test test.
Yes,
Am I
yes.
clear?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why don't we highlight some of our April 1st things, including Blizzard and the community? One person even made an anima prank where it looked like you could buy anima from the Blizzard shop.
Yeah, I saw that. Wait, I don't think I have that specific screenshot. Wait, let me get that out as you continue talking.
Yeah. So, yeah, happy April. Um, we had a blast making the April 1st on Wowhead. We made the Sylvanas model, we made the Lich King Pepe, we made the Mornblade, and we made Reverence and Lynn's Mount. These were all things we created ourselves and animated.
Yeah, let me show
Blizzard
those
was
things
not
actually.
involved at all.
Yeah, that was so funny. I saw a
Yeah,
couple comments like, "Oh, why did Blizzard fake these things?" Like, God
yeah,
damn it! And it's like, wait, no, this was actually Wowhead who did. They look
yeah.
very real because people put a lot of effort into these. So let me show you guys the Sylvanas model.
Yeah.
There it is.
So we called it Redeemed Sylvanas. We try to use some of her old armor, but use the textures and colors from Warcraft 3 Reforged. So it's the same scheme as what she has there, like the colors are the same tints.
Mm-hmm.
We added a necklace that was the human necklace to look like, um, the necklace all of her sisters share. We gave her a new Ranger General bow. And we also kept her Banshee tears and the scar. We changed the color of that as well. The way her model was in Shadowlands, we couldn't just like add and remove armor. We had to do this very complicated thing. And yeah, I know a lot of people worried that this was going to be real or like this was going to be part of the final boss, like a flashback or this was something was going to happen to her. Um, but yeah, we just thought it was like fun for shock value. Like you you can't go wrong with a Sylvanas meme with Shadowlands, especially because she's been sort of like secretive behind the scenes. So
Yeah,
we still don't know where her story is going to go.
there were some people who thought it was real for some moment, and they expressed in the comments like, "I thought it was real, and until I read the comments." Or some
Yeah.
people were getting real angry, like, no, there's no way Sylvanas can be redeemed. Like, how dare Blizzard? And yeah, no, this was April Fool's. Very well made, lots of details, even new armor. I mean, not new armor, new model. And yeah, I think it was an awesome idea and very, very nice pulled through as well. We got a close
Yeah.
up of the face, and it looks a little bit creepy.
Well, I mean, Devon actually put them side by side,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the same face model and hood. I remember when we did the art interview with Shadowlands, the art director was saying how they really struggled with her model because they had to like um really up the contrast of some shapes so she didn't just look like all gray or have people think her armor was her body. So
Mm-hmm.
I think her proportions are like a little strange to get across that have it look good with all the black shadows. But when you put her in normal colors, then her face looks a little like not sort of otherworldly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
It is kind of fitting, to be fair.
yeah. So
But yeah, we have
yeah.
the Pepe Lich King as well.
Yeah, we always have to do something with Pepe. I
Mm-hmm.
think my favorite is still when we made an artifact weapon that was Pepe, and the nodes would unlock disguises. Um, but yeah, we've got Lich King Pepe. He's adorable. I think WoW devs was making a joke. He's like, now I have to make, a jailer Pepe in the game. But yeah, he's so cute. He's actually wearing the cloth legendary helm. So
Ah, yeah. So Pepe's a clothy. He's
yeah.
one of us casters.
Um, we sometimes get complaints that we play our April 1st jokes too seriously, and there's nothing that tips it off. So we try to add in the post a joke at the end where we try to recreate the battle in Warcraft 3 between Arthas and Illidan, with Lich King and Illidari Pepe. And we're like, we data mined a loading screen. Like, what could this be for? Pepe battles, like pet battles. And we hope that got it across that
Yeah, no,
this was not
it's true.
serious.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
reading it too, and when I got to this part, I was like, okay, at least at this part, everyone should know. Like, now people should be on board that this is April
Yeah.
Fool's. Because surely we're not going to get a loading screen like this. It's funny
But
though, it's so
yeah,
cute. But yeah,
I know.
Pepe fighting Pepe. Lich King versus Illidan.
And everyone was like, we're like, who would win? Everyone was like, oh, both Pepes would just claim victory because that's what Illidan and Arthas do. They think that
Yeah, true.
they've won.
Yeah, that's actually true.
Yeah. So next up, do you want to highlight the horse or the sword?
Let's get the sword.
Yeah. So this originally just started off as a little detail on Pepe's back, but then we thought it was cool, so we put big versions in the post. This is the Mornblade. We took these based on the concept art of Anduin from Bleak Online in his 9-1 concept art, and we turned these into three-dimensional models.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we've had a video where you could like actually equip them and fight with them, and people definitely want these as transmog now.
They do look real good. And should we also maybe show the quick video of
Yeah. So on Friday, Stevon and Z did a making up stream where for a few hours they highlighted how he made all the items and like oopsies along the
mm-hmm.
way and tried to make them again in front of everyone to show how things have to be like perfectly arranged. And we were showing a little sped up recording of how we took the art and put it on the model.
Yes. So let me get that open. Need to make sure I'm showing the correct screen here. Okay, just gonna make this a bit bigger. So this is part of the stream where Stefan is showing how they put the weapon together.
Yeah, so the final result I think is a little, I feel like it would be crisper in game. Like this feels like more concept art, but it looks great for just a weapon that did not exist before and now
Mm-hmm.
does, and
Mm-hmm.
is definitely three dimensional.
You can see it's a sped up version, but as you can see, it's very, very detailed. Like they really went into all the different sides and the sizing and the details of the art itself. It's really well put together. You can see that there's a lot of effort put into this, not just a
Yeah,
quick April Fool's thing.
yeah, they tried to take the BFA version of the weapon, which we actually highlighted in our April Fool's last year. Because our
Mm.
prank last year was all like, oh, if you finish the war campaign, like you can get a Jaina necklace or a Sour Fang necklace or a toy that gives you Anduin weapon and then it splits. So we took those from last year and then we tried to um take the goth
Mm-hmm.
9-1 Anduin weapons and do a version of that. So yeah, April 1st stuff getting reused.
Yeah, that's cool. Making use of even older stuff.
Yeah. before I highlight the mount, I also want to highlight that we kicked off the whole thing with this like stone cold like data mining stream, like just played it totally cold, totally serious, um being like, oh, surprise PTR build, no one is around, they're all raiding, Brightpaw destroyed the internet, so we finally cracked the encrypted build. Oh my god, I'm so tired. I will highlight the few things I found. And Stevan just was like totally serious, like complaining how tired he was. He pulled up some fake images of like, oh, these are the names of the models I found. And like, they were always funny. It was like, Magni, Bronzebeard, like Crystal, like, like Nathanos Revive, like, a lot of
Yeah.
and then he's like, I'm still working, but I found like three things. Like, let me show you the Sylvanas. Let me show you, the Anduin. And it was, I thought at the end he was going to end by flashing the April 1st logo on the screen or like a hint, but he just was like, okay,
Total
like I'm so
serious.
tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, back to work, everyone. See you soon. I'm just like, wow, like that was brutal. So,
Yeah.
um, and then everyone, because like everyone in chat was like, oh, now he's gonna rickroll us, like, this is the model that's gonna be a joke, and it just never came.
Never happened. Nope. Because it's a
Yeah.
serious stream. Hello.
Yep. So about an hour after the stream, we then set the site up as everyone was like, talking about it, and then we published it, and then people had fun with it.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, let's show the horse, because the horse is
Yes.
that's my favorite one.
Here it is. First image here visible. And in the same fashion as the weapon as well, you can see the behind the scenes version that Stevan showed of how this mount was actually put together. And it's amazing. This mount looks amazing. Like, I want this mount
Yeah.
now. Like,
So
can I
for those
have
of
it?
you, yeah. So for those of you who don't know, the whole concept for this April Fools was originally like, what if there was a Maw Covenant, and that's why we had like the Pepe, the Sylvanas, and then there was meant to be this mount, and in our tooltip we said it cost renown,
Yeah,
200
renown
from
200
the
to get this.
yeah from the Maw Covenant, and the achievement was like betray your covenant to join the Maw, and we're like maybe it would be like in like it could be like Legion or BFA where it's like I don't know, like a PvP faction like Aviana, something like that, like something weird where you do something weird to get reputation with this faction.
Mm-hmm.
And Reverence is an actual name of Anduin's mount. We first see him on the happy looking horse at the start of BFA, which prompted a lot of parallels that, this was like, Anduin, and he had this bond with Reverence, Arthas, and this bond, with Invincible.
Yeah, and I
And
like how you put all of
yeah,
that in the article as well. Like you guys
yeah,
explain the whole like referencing and the all the parallels and everything. So anyone reading is like, yeah, 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 this is true.
yeah.
True.
So we made a gravestone like Invincible based on some of his lines from Heroes of the Storm, as well as the flavor text. I think is the actual Heroes of the Storm text, because you can get that mount also in that game. So it sounded very Blizzard like. And yeah, as you're seeing from this video, we basically took the
Oh, let
version
me
of the
show the
mount.
video.
Yeah, we took the version of the mount from BFA, um, separated all the parts, recolored them a darker color, and then started modifying each part to make it be more death-like. So, for example, the plates on the golden white horse had like a very happy lion on the back by the saddle, but we took like assets from the maw that looked angry, like an angry face, and we used that instead. Um, and I think the part we're showing now is how we took like armor pieces from other mounts, such as the Mythic Plus mount, and use
And
them
PvP
as
mount.
additional. Yeah, use them as other pieces from like the hen, the helm, the mane, some of the tattered things on the side. So it didn't just look like a black recolor of the BFA model.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here you can see the horns being added. So cool. Look,
Yeah.
there it is.
Um, Also, I'm not sure we're going to show it on this stream, but we wanted to give it wings like Invincible. But the way it was too difficult to find wings to have work with the animations and have it look believable for that horse base model. Like the
Mm-hmm.
BFA horses don't fly. We couldn't find a horse with similar dimensions. And if you watch the whole making of stream, they actually experiment with different things, like the whole recruiter friend mount, the Cinder Main Charger. They try taking those wings and putting it on, and some other ones, and it just didn't work.
Mm,
But you can get a
yeah.
sense of how, like, we experiment with
They
things
even
to try.
tried. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super
So
cool. You can really see the effort, and then having these behind the scenes little streams to show us is also really cool. So, yeah, great job, guys.
yeah.
Really nicely
So
done. Also,
yeah,
Sivan
really
was in the
awesome
chat,
job.
so hi.
Yeah. Give Stevan and Z as well the shout outs.
Mm-hmm.
Stevan you see on the stream, but a lot of the work he's showing, Z either developed or put together for Stevan's
Yeah,
approval.
shout out to Z as well then.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We had a few more things for April 1st, which you may notice on the site. It's kind of a sort of joke with tech that you release products on April 1st as like a joke, and then you use them later on. So you may have noticed on Wowhead that like the rockets were looking all kind of like drunk and neon and colorful in the navigation menu, and some of them were animated. We did that for fun, but it was actually a way to try out new tech for the navigation menu to do interesting little things for
Mm.
holidays. So you might notice with Noble Garden, if you visit the front page now, there's like an egg, or there's a little bunny that appears on top of the jailer's head periodically in the menu.
Oh, okay. I need to open it now to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And so by
cool. So you
yeah,
took the opportunity to put silly things on there to see if it works or not, and then you actually use it.
yeah. So yeah, we basically turned all the logos into these neon rockets with like clown hats on
Mm-hmm.
it, which was cool. And then on our Discord, we did a bunch of little things, but the biggest thing was we changed everyone's name on the staff to Brightpaw. Um, and we then did a giveaway by Brightpaw, claiming that Brightpaw had kittens and he was giving away 5 pets. We were very clear it was the in-game Brightpaw pets. Some people thought we were giving away actual kittens via Discord.
Yeah, Wowhead
Um,
will never do that.
yeah, Brightpaw also cannot have kittens
Also true.
for several reasons. But yeah, our Discord was taken over by Brightpaw.
Mm-hmm. That's nice. I think Brightpaw should take over more often.
Yeah, Sass also, without my knowledge, changed my username on Wowhead to Brightpaw, and my profile page is just like a giant picture of him. So
That's funny. Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, we definitely had a lot of fun with April 1st. We know some people try to do serious pranks where they get people like scared about something, so we don't want to be malicious, but we think it's a good time to just do a prank.
Mm-hmm.
It might not be like your brand of humor, but we think it's just fun to do this sort of elaborate
I think it's really
setup.
cool. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool because you guys had the ideas and you guys put the time and effort into it, so that you see it all visually. I think it was really cool. And I think also just seeing a lot of Pepe is always a big positive. I wanted to show the tweet with from Enschlin. Am I saying it right? Enschlin?
Yeah, Ancelin. He's also
With you
Ancelin is
guys.
like he does a lot of work on Wowhead.
Mm-hmm.
He oversees our class guys, but he's like a big collector as well. So I feel like this tweet he made was like very
Very
relevant to his.
fitting. There it is. Oh, look! Blizzard finally heard our prayers and made anima more accessible to everyone. Best value
That part
19.99.
of the best.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking that that's way too expensive. I mean, considering the amount of anima I need, I need this to be cheaper than that. I mean, the
So
Covenant special, you pay, what is it? Like, first step 1K, then 5K, then 10K.
yeah.
I'm gonna need a lot of these packages. But yeah,
But
that
yeah,
was cool.
that was funny.
Mm-hmm.
um, Another one that I liked was the Raider IO one because they renamed all the bosses and dungeons to what the community thinks of them, and I really liked how Stone Age in general, like parentheses redacted, like because no one likes the fight, so I thought
Yeah,
that one was funny.
yeah. I haven't progressed it myself, mythic rating that is, but I've heard a lot of things about that boss. Apparently, it's a guild killer. Um,
Well, they keep like nerfing and changing it because it's not working in its current
yeah,
form.
yeah.
So let's see. What else was there? I thought that Handclaw, who's done like a lot of really cool concept art things, he had I don't know if it was necessarily funny, but he did World of Warcraft Undermine, and like that just sounds cool. It was like a whole goblin themed expansion, and
Mm-hmm.
like what the one word titles just have the same vibe as like World of Warcraft Shadowlands, World of Warcraft Legion. Like the logo just looked really good. So I thought that was cool.
Blizzard had
Let's
made some as well.
Yeah, they did a whole. I'm pulling the.
Mm-hmm. They made a blue post with
The part
updates.
that cracked me up. So yeah, the part that stood out to me the most was when you got to WoW Classic, and it was talking about all the world buff
Yeah,
stats
I pulled it
you
up.
could
There it
get the
is.
new ones, and then it's like, oh, like if you get all of the buffs, you get the world buff to end all world buffs, +5 to spirit. It's just
Yep.
and it's just like making fun of how
We need
people in
more world
classic
buffs.
will, min max for the smallest advantage.
Mm-hmm.
um Also how mages do not need any change. That was also
Yeah, I highlighted that one. Here we go.
yeah.
So we had a list of all the different changes to all the different classes, things added, things edited, and then for mage it says no changes needed. Everyone knows. Everyone
Yeah.
knows mage is the god class that needs no changes, not even for April Fools.
Yeah. I also like the sea shanty profession. That was like a popular talk meme from a few months ago. And it actually would have fit in really well with Battle for Azeroth with the Kulturans. So
Yeah, that's actually true. It would fit the theme even better.
yeah.
Yeah, we had new
So
professions
that
apparently:
was cool.
sea shanty singing, and then we got the wand vision.
Yeah, I got WandaVision. Joke.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I thought this one could have gotten more attention. Big Dumb Gaming being like, oh, you can we made a Twitch chat add-on that shows your Raider IO like PvP rankings. Whenever you say something in chat, it shows like
I
how good
missed
you
that.
are.
That's so good.
I'm like that just sounds like
Oh no.
how to further improve Twitch chat. Just you know.
To see the Raider IO and oh my, that's actually genius.
Yeah.
Can we have somebody working on that? You know, when somebody
Yeah.
comes to the chat and insults the streamer, I think we need this. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
That's
Um,
funny.
but yeah, we have even more in our post. Did you want to highlight any more specifically?
Yeah, I'm looking as
Or
well. Nothing specific that I think of now.
yeah. I did like the Razor Rapunzel chroma hair dye. I thought that was funny how like you just like put this goo on your hair and it changes colors. Um and they even had like an Instagram filter for that, so I thought that was pretty funny.
Oh, even Instagram
Um
filter. Cool.
Yeah, like I know some companies decided not to do April 1st, like Google, because like the pandemic and they don't want it to be confused with real news. But I think it's cool when,
Mm.
Blizzard and other places, you know, can do some jokes if it's, not misleading. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Reddit's
Um,
classic Burning Crusade store mounts.
oh yeah, those were really funny. And the Fellery
Oh, you
Maybe
cut
not
out.
from a Burning Crusade store, but I like the idea of the mount.
Yeah, maybe not from
Yeah.
from the Burning Crusade store. Let me
Yeah.
pull it up here so we can see it.
Looks really realistic too.
Let's see. There we go. The piloted Fell Reaver, new mount. Summon yours today with purchase of Burning Crusade Classic Deluxe Edition. The funniest part about this is that this is what it seems to be like actually, right? Like because people
Yeah.
are it seems
And going
like
back to what we said about communication, like if Blizzard doesn't say anything, people will go ahead.
yeah, because they also made one for the mount that was data mined as well here. I'll pull that one in too. But yeah, they made quite nice art for these.
Yeah. And I think once people realize how to get like the font for the Blizzard shop now, it's like it looks really realistic when you can imitate the assets easily.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so great job, everyone. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, our next community topic is less um playful. It is related to the MDI Prize.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of
So
discussion was sparked on the MDI Prize Poll. We have a spreadsheet here that what do we refer him as? We have Now, who is both a streamer and also a very competitive player in the MDI scene, who put together a spreadsheet, and this is how it looks like. And it sparked a lot of discussion around how much you can earn from playing World of Warcraft competitively. And as you can see from the spreadsheet, it shows that a lot of players in the very, very top of things still barely make any type of considerable money being competitive and spending the amount of hours that they do into being able to do this. And it was really interesting. You see how the
yeah.
industry or the business around World of Warcraft is pretty much non-existing, because this is looking at some of the biggest groups and orgs here for the teams. And if you're from a lesser known team, you're never going to be able to do it.
Yeah, and we do have to state that this was for the earlier cups and that the finals have a bigger prize pool. But when you think of how the cups are spread over, many weeks and all the practice that goes into it, that's
Mm-hmm.
still a really long time of not making great money. And it's a big gamble, hoping that you'll do well in the finals. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just not a really good money to hour ratio, and it requires a lot of practice, building up to it. And there are so many cups, and they all follow the same format that it can get repetitive. And I think we've mentioned this in the past, but Blizzard signing that Overwatch esports deal with YouTube meant that all the other games had to move to YouTube, and I think that's also been hurting the viewership as well as what the streamers get out of it,
Mm-hmm.
because everyone is on Twitch who does competitive stuff, and now the fans have to go to YouTube to watch them instead, and they might not have alerts set up. And you could argue and say, oh well, a streamer shouldn't just count on prize money; they need to be entertaining in their own right. But having to go over to another platform to play games is like not really it's not as strong helping to promote your brand, so the
Mm-hmm.
competitors get less out of it, as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't use someone's emotes to cheer them on because you're on a
For
different
example,
platform.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest things as well, because if you have people being on the platform Twitch as it's going on, you can have people in the chat, sort of cheering you on as you're playing, whether it's live or not live, doesn't matter, and just being able to see emotes from somebody will make people curious and maybe click that emote, which then takes it to your channel, which is awesome from like a streaming perspective, because at the moment, without streaming, it's actually impossible to make any kind of living from being competitive. We have some examples of lots of people who, due to it not being very profitable, choose other ways, some ways which then are bannable, like we discussed in the past,
Mhm.
like coaching or, having real money trading, for example, or even account playing. We have also some people who just drop World of Warcraft altogether and go into other games because other games are more profitable, more worth your time. If you're spending the equivalent time of a full time job in a different game and become, good and competitive in that game, it ends up potentially, in many cases, being more profitable. And it's a big topic because the question is, how do you fix this? Are we supposed to try to fix it? And yeah, like I think there were a lot of things to do with the MDI, for example, talking about how there were so many small cups, for example, and that
Yeah,
means that more time is spent, and that yeah, like I don't know, maybe reducing the amount of time spent could potentially maybe help to some degree at least.
yeah, I also feel like just the format needs to be revitalized. Like when I read the Wowhead comments for the article, people were like, "Oh, I haven't really tuned in, but I remember, watching this cathedral where everyone wiped at the start. It was funny. Oh, I remember when they did, seat the first time and they hadn't seen it. There were so many deaths. Like people remember those sorts of runs and not, oh, I saw the same run, week after week and they cleared it in the same time or, 1 second better using, mirror compositions. Um and it, I feel like you need it to be more entertaining, an element of surprise, because it's not always educational, if you're someone doing lower keys, because like, even if you're like a good player, just playing on the weekends, like you're not going to be able to do those crazy pulls and class stack so much and be like, oh, this pull is risky but it's perfect because I practiced it, for a week straight. I did hundreds, so many dungeons.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that if you want it to be a spectacle, it needs to be more engaging, element of surprise, not the cups that are getting like pretty repetitive, and almost predictable in what you're going to see. Like it's both predictable but something that you can't really do yourself because you're not um as you're not as like, so I don't know, probably fewer cups, trying to mix things up more. Having it on Twitch would help, but there's the YouTube deal with
Yeah,
Overwatch.
yeah. I think the YouTube deal was really bad for a lot of people who are at least attempting to do the streaming part of things, because currently that is the only way to do it. Also, I want to mention, sorry, random sound. I want to mention that a lot of people point out, and it's true, and we're also going to comment a little bit on some interesting tweets that were made as well on this whole topic.
Hmm.
Like, Blizzard is not meant to be a charity, right? It's not meant
Hmm.
to be like, yeah, we're just going to give you money, like, because you play our game. Thanks, that's awesome. Here, we're just going to give you more money. And it's not even necessarily the only solution. For example, we had the toy that came out
Right.
as part of the prize pool for both MDI and AWC, so both PvP and PvE, Mythic Plus and Arenas. And most people understood it as this money will be added to the normal prize pool, which is there every single year. And if we don't manage to sell enough toys, it's okay. Blizzard will still provide enough to make sure that we do have that 500,000 prize pool. What
And
happened
that
was
was incorrect. Yeah.
what happened was we raised over 500,000, and Blizzard was like, "Oh, that's great. We reached the limit, so yeah, we don't have to even put in $1." And I feel like that was like the perfect opportunity for Blizzard to kind of like do something about this without actually spending more money than they would need to, because if they had just put in the normal amount of money that they put in every single year, and then have the community add this money, the community would continue buying their things for future funds for these competitions because they're happy to, you know. I know, is it
Yeah.
Dota who has done it a lot with like crowdfunding and stuff. It's
Yeah,
really,
there's so many
really,
in-game incentives. Like,
yeah.
you spend money so you can get a little thing to cheer on your team. And
Mm-hmm.
League does similar things, and then if you win, you can purchase something special in game related to that team. Even
Mm-hmm.
Overwatch League has, in the past they've done skins related to teams as well to show your pride for each season.
Mm-hmm. Well, I kind of don't like the idea of having orgs in the game. I think that's a little
I can
bit
see that
game breaking for an
yeah,
immersive game, or like
right.
for an RP type of game. But I think those random toys worked really well, you know, and other things as well. If you buy this thing, maybe similar to BlizzCon, you have like, let's say, BlizzCon mount, right? Maybe you could have like an AWC mount. It's not necessarily a specific team, but it's very specifically to that type of competition. That could be cool, right? Or it doesn't have to be a mount. It could be
Yeah.
a toy,
I
tabard, anything.
I think PvP, like back in Legion, you could get a title if you watched Twitch for a certain amount of time and you connected your Battle.net and Twitch account. So like even rewards for players like that as well, like cheer a certain number of times and you get something special. Like they
Mm-hmm.
have so many watch Overwatch, and as you watch more, you get special things. It's like
Mm-hmm.
why we should bring some of this to WoW.
Yeah, because right now with what they did, as we crowdfunded over 500,000, and they decided to, okay, that means we don't even have to put $1 in this. It means that they saved themselves $500,000, right? And in effect, no one will buy the things in the future when this happens again. So
Yeah, it's like a violation of
no,
trust.
yeah, no one will do that again. No one will pay for toys or pets or anything which is going to be added to a fund for the tournaments because it didn't work last time, so why should they do it now? So they're gonna probably have to pay the 500,000 themselves from, from next time on. So they haven't really saved anything. If they could have just continued doing their yearly thing, then crowdfunding would have become even more prominent, and people would be even happier potentially. Maybe people who didn't wasn't part of the first fund, maybe they decide to become part of it next time. I think for the longevity, it would have been so much better if they did
Yeah.
still put in that money that they put in normally anyways. Like, it wouldn't be more than they would normally, right? Because they always put in that original amount of money. Then it would have it would have been really good for the long run.
Yeah, and I think that the move to YouTube hurt as well because at least from what I saw a lot of encouraging their audiences to participate, spend money because the people thought it would help the streamers that they were
Yeah.
fans of. But like that
Mm-hmm.
whole ecosystem is again like sort of um the links are weakened with being over on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think
So
it just
yeah,
makes me
another
so sad
example.
because people do use the argument a lot, like, well, you can't expect Blizzard to be a charity and just pay them more money. They could have just continued doing what they've been doing for 10, 15 years, or okay, maybe not that long, but however long these competitions have existed,
Yeah.
they could have continued doing that and just not broken that trust. And then the crowd would have done the job for them to increase the prize money. It
Yeah,
makes
and
me
like
sad that it
now
didn't
we're
work
just
out
in a
like that.
situation people just find it more profitable to go play other games, which is, a
Mm-hmm.
clear message that um it's not like, oh, Blizzard can't do charity. It's like, well, other games aren't doing charity, but they have a healthier, more sustainable system set up that people feel they can participate in the industry and go further places.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's worth discussing some tweets by Cody Connors, the Twitch strategic partnership manager, who is also a big WoW fan, multi gladiator, and he has he has like a pretty nuanced perspective because he feels bad. He's a player, And he agrees that, yeah, the reality is that, you cannot make a living just off MDI. And, that's sad, but the reality is that if you're a Blizzard suit, like, someone's going to be like, okay, well, if we increase the prize pool, are we going to get way more viewership on YouTube? And the answer, sadly, is with the current situation, it's probably not going to justify those means. So Blizzard is probably thinking, Shadowlands is surging, more people are watching on Twitch with the pandemic. Um, community esports is doing well. Like, if we put more money into this, it's not going to have immediate short-term results.
No.
And
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with that line of thinking, but you can see how some corporate person that is
It makes
unrelated to
sense. Mm-hmm.
Warcraft is like, so we're just going to spend more money, after we are cutting down our esports department because we are thinking it's not working out super well. You want us to put more money into something that's not, our flagship product. Like, if we invest more money, will we overtake these other games in viewership? No, not really. So, like, we're not a charity. Like, I could see someone um pushing back on that. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, but if you built it up over time in the long term and you invested resources to get more, talent in, and then you invested more resources to develop it as an esport, to make it more appealing, then maybe you could see returns in the future. But it just seems like, Blizzard is very much about like cost cutting and like, minimum viable product. Like, what's a small budget we can do to have this esport do well on YouTube, and not break the bank. And at one point will we get diminishing returns, and let's not go like that. So
Mm-hmm.
um
Yeah, no,
but yeah, like
I think it's.
he specifically
Mm-hmm.
said, like, put
Mm-hmm.
yourself in a program manager's shoes, suggesting to their boss a radical change for the prize model for MDI AWC. What sort of data do you need to justify that? Can you do 4 times the prize pool if they can promise twice the amount of viewership? At twice the amount of viewership, WoW is still not a top 5 esport. So it's like a really tough sell to some guy in a suit.
Yeah, and that's the one of the biggest arguments that I have seen as well. And I can understand that, if World of Warcraft is not very popular to watch, maybe because World of Warcraft is difficult to understand compared to a game like CS:GO, where you don't have to understand anything, but you still
Right.
see what's going on. Uh, sure, I can buy that, but I think we showed last year that the crowd is able to fund. And I think with that, if Blizzard had just continued doing what they're doing, they could have seen like crazy result by just being able to involve the community, because World of Warcraft is such an old game. The fact that
Mm.
there's so many millions of people still playing means that there's so many people who are so dedicated to the game. We have like these BlizzCons, for example, tickets sell out in minutes, the community is so dedicated that they could in large ways help fund and make WoW esports at least more what's the word, like attractive for more people to want to play. And if that's the case, then all that needed to be done really was build that trust, and that's what failed
Yeah, and it's
sadly
like
last year.
WoW might not be a top 5, whatever, although it is doing, pretty well, which I would say,
Mm-hmm.
for an old game. But like the audience is, super dedicated, and the people that like WoW, like really like WoW, have lots of money to, drop on things like, Thrall statues or, BlizzCon vacation tickets. Being an older game means that the people tend to be more financially stable, they're higher positions at work. They're not broke college kids, and they can afford to. Maybe they don't have as much time to play, but they can show support for their hobby by supporting someone financially. And Blizzard needs to tap into that as well. Like, not everything can be a clone of how Overwatch works, or like Legends. They should realize that if they just let their audience that likes dropping money on stuff help crowdfund AWC and MDI, there could be a happy medium on Twitch where it still has a decent viewership, And the prize pool increases, with the crowdfunding, and people feel like they're directly contributing to it.
Mm-hmm. Because there's definitely other ways, like you mentioned, putting in some money into proper people who will help the balancing, for example, putting more other kinds of background works that improves the esport as itself. But at this point, that minimal effort of involving the crowd could be enough, at least, to make things a lot easier for a lot of people competing. And then you can take it from there. Maybe if Blizzard would see how dedicated people are, then they can decide to invest themselves into maybe having more balancing devs or having more other kinds of feedback things to do with esports itself. And then that way you can have a long term solution to making esports more, or WoW esports more viable.
Yeah, like if people are saying, oh, like these dungeons like don't translate well into the MDI, it's like, well, what if they're doing the best they can with not very many people working on it? Like, what if they just have the
Yeah.
manpower to set up the event, and the UI and the rules and regulations
Mm-hmm.
and the pure, like, what if they don't have the bandwidth to develop a special esports mode, or make tournament realm changes, like, they might just not have, they might just not be allotted all this extra um
Yeah, because
you
there's
know
so many ways to make something more user friendly to the eye. Like as you're watching, I mean, even for myself, watching PvP streams from years and years ago compared to now, the arena streams, it's a
mm,
lot easier now to be able to understand what's going on. They were a lot worse before. You could almost see nothing of cooldown usage and things like that. So there's definitely been improvement, but there is
yeah,
definitely more
speaking
that
of
can be done.
PvP, remember when there was the tournament realm, and like you could play games, and then you could get the Vanquisher title and the special Murky Gladiator like years ago? It's like, you could,
Ah, yeah.
like, if the MDI isn't, super working in its current form, like what if they just did like a, I don't know, like more of a, like I like sort of like a feeder for the MDI, like you got something for putting the work in.
Participating. Yeah.
Yeah. So but again, that takes extra resources, or even the
Mm-hmm.
coordination of, we're going to drop this new dungeon no one's seen before in the MDI, like Seat of the Triumvirate. I thought that generated a lot of buzz for it. And it was
Mm-hmm.
actually really fun to watch with all the wipes. Like, no one knew what they were doing in it. And I think people also find it valuable because it's like, oh, I wipe a lot too. How do the pros handle, wiping and regrouping and strategizing on the fly?
Mm-hmm.
But all those little things take, just extra effort and manpower. And I know, Blizzard um, consolidating some community and esports stuff with their layoffs, a few years ago. Past esport people have talked about how, they were sort of like one person doing it all. It seems that they're trying to, maybe they spent like too much money on Heroes of the Storm, and then they tried to be too stingy with other games. And that's eventually
Yeah,
going
I
to
mean, it's
catch up to them,
possible.
as we're seeing now.
Exactly, exactly. That's the thing. And I saw a comment in the chat as well about how it was a betrayal, and that's really what it
Yeah,
was. What happened with the
totally.
prize pool last year, it was a huge betrayal, and there was no comment on it either. Like, why would anyone want to spend any money towards prize pools now after what happened? No, no one will. Like, I feel like at this point, if they don't at least double the prize pool for this year, not even then could I potentially maybe consider funding next time, like after that.
I also feel like, I can't remember if it was the same year or the year before, but I thought, I forget who it was, one of the managers for a team that was doing well in PvP, maybe it was Method, but they were talking about how the earlier games weren't streamed, and like the whole accommodations and food available and practice spaces were pretty lacking for the players, and they thought they had it pretty good because they were, one of the more high profile teams. But it was things like people were
Was that
driving
a
to
world
like,
first race or was that PvP?
that was PvP, because like,
Okay.
it was something like, the practice rooms, like some teams were being assigned to like similar places, and other people were
Mm-hmm.
driving farther away, and the earlier games weren't streamed, and people were disappointed with some of the games being offline, because that's how you build your
Oh yeah,
brand.
for BlizzCon.
yeah, like it builds a narrative, and sponsors also like when their competitors are
Visible,
having visible.
of
And
course.
like you don't have as much momentum if you don't see like the underdog struggling through, or
Mm-hmm.
rematches. And I think if that was the same year as the prize pool, I can't remember, but it's like, okay, well, like, you know
I
what,
think you're
what
right.
were
I
you
think it
doing with the
was.
extra
Yeah.
money? Yeah,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
if it wasn't going to things like accommodations. I think even MDI has like memed about accommodations, how like the casters would have super nice rooms, which is cool, but then like the competitors were in kind of like
Mm-hmm.
not the deluxe rooms.
Mm-hmm.
So like they were being a little stingier there as well.
Mm-hmm. The thing that Blizzard doesn't realize is one of the most things one of the really interesting aspects of games doing really well is having flashy tournaments. Like when Fortnite was up and coming and they went out and were like, yeah, this year we're gonna put in this many millions into tournaments. People were like, whoa, that's so cool. So they wanted to watch it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it brings hype and it makes more people want to become good at the game too, because that's an issue too. At this point, people don't even bother trying to become good at MDI or PvP, because what's the point? You spend so
Mm.
many hours, thousands and thousands of hours, and at most you'll make the same money as, like, just working outside somewhere that requires no like pre knowledge or practice or anything, right? It's kind of like you're at this university for 5 years and you work really hard on this degree, but then you come out and then you can't use the degree for anything. So it's like you wasted your time, and it makes it so that first of all, it's always the same people who are top of these tournaments. So the
Mm-hmm.
PvP teams and the MDI teams end up being pretty much the same teams. Not that that's bad. A lot of times this is a good thing because it means that for these players, they're able to at least build a following and stream,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's really good for them. But in terms of, like you mentioned, having underdogs being visible, it's impossible. Like, it's impossible for a quote unquote nobody to find the time necessary to get on the same level as these other guys who've been able to spend thousands and thousands of hours, and then to be visible because it was decided last BlizzCon that only the was it semifinals or finals
Yeah, I
that
think
were
it's the
actually,
semifinals.
yeah, that were
Yeah.
actually shown on screen. So if you were an underdog and maybe you were even close to beating a certain team that was really good, it will be forgotten. No one will know. And there you are, back to square one. Maybe you didn't spend 10,000 hours yet. Maybe you're at 9,000, so you got another 1,000 to go if you can
Right.
afford it. It
Yeah.
just
And it's
becomes like
like,
a really unhealthy cycle.
yeah, and it's like if if you're an up and coming entertainer, you need to pay the bills, and streaming MDI, practicing MDI offline is like not very financially lucrative,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you need to care about finances. Maybe you're working a job, or maybe your numbers are going up and you have to maintain them. You can't just take time off to do MDI.
Mm-hmm.
So like then it's like, well, do I want to focus and be branded as a WoW streamer, or do I want to
Continue being
be
competitive.
competitive in another game? And you think that Blizzard would want to welcome people being competitive if there's always like, oh, people are toxic, people rant and then they get engagement from ranting. It's like, well, if that's what pays the bills and that's what gets viewers, shouldn't you be wanting to make it more appealing to be someone doing competitive
Yeah, more
educational stuff?
accessible to more people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if they don't want people just being negative all the time, and like that naturally does well with algorithms, people are upset with the game. Well, it's like, well, that seems to be a more stable choice than doing this high skilled thing that like doesn't give you any money or viewership. Like you can't even be on Twitch and do it now. So
Mm-hmm. Because right now you can be the best player in the game and be in the best team in the world. But if you're not streaming, you're not earning anything. And
right.
there is plenty other games where if you're a professional, you don't have to stream because you make enough from all the different tournaments and things that are going on, and it's like worthwhile the time that you put in. And World of Warcraft just isn't.
Like you join a team and then like you're so visible during the event that you get sponsors, and then the sponsors pay to be part of the team, and then like the money just piles up that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also, people have also pointed out that um the new Battle.net launcher is a bit cluttered, but it also doesn't really effectively tell you when someone is live. Like people have said that with like the League launcher or even Dota, like when you are live. Like like they let when the championship is starting. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
very obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, like there's so many things on Battle.net. Like I don't know when anything goes live. Periodically, I see an Overwatch League thing pop up, or I see an article in the launcher rotation with MDI, but I don't exactly see. Like it's not as obvious for me
No.
to watch.
And for myself too, so and I'm sure a lot of people are in the same boat as me. uh I feel like there's so many cups in general, like PvP,
Yeah,
MDI, and I don't know how there's so many cups. It's like so many weeks,
yeah,
and I'm just like, I don't know what to follow, and I don't notice that anything is on either, because I spend more time on Twitch than I do on YouTube.
right.
And I guess it's a question of Battle.net as well. I haven't thought about that, but maybe that's true. Maybe the Battle.net just doesn't make it very clear that it's happening either. So Blizzard could definitely put in effort, or not effort, maybe like resources in general, to make them more visible. Um, and that in itself would also add to things becoming more successful.
Yeah, so it just seems like there's a lot of things other games are doing that Blizzard could learn from, but unfortunately, that's going to take more of a money investment, and that if there's not going to be an immediate short-term gain from
Yeah,
it,
I don't know
the
why
people at the
everything is so
top may
short
not.
term.
I know,
Why? It's
like
like
it's so
we're
weird.
gonna
It's
save
like
a
we're
half a million
getting
dollars, which is
rid
nothing
of
for the company, by the way. But
right,
we're gonna
yeah,
save it, so we're gonna like not pay this tournament. And like let's say that was the original intent. They weren't meaning to pay if we reached the limit, right? And then we did.
right.
And then community outrage. At least at that point, come on. At that point, it's been spelled out to you. Like, we apologize. It wasn't part of the plan, but since, you guys were really upset about it, we will add the half a million as well. Just something to not
Yeah.
break that
And I think
trust.
that wasn't even, Blizzard didn't even say anything. I think
No, they
there
said
was like a
nothing.
meeting that they had with the competitors the week of, and at the meeting they're like, "Oh yeah, this is the amount," and people were like, "Oh,
Oh,
really?"
yeah,
Like
that too.
I'm
Yeah, the
confused.
announcement
And like it sort
itself.
of
Mm-hmm.
leaked out. And it puts the players in a weird spot because you don't want to get on, Blizzard's PR bad side, but like that's, it's a really uncomfortable thing to be a player and then have to tell your stream, "Oh, I told you to donate and it actually didn't go anywhere."
Yeah.
Um but yeah, I think also like all the cups, especially, we keep saying this, but I think as more people go outside, whether they're vaccinated or not with COVID, like I don't think people want to just like watch like, the same cup with the same polls and the same, mirror compositions doing the same dungeon over, and over for weeks on end. Like you want to tune into something um new, and people are bored or they're going outside,
Yeah,
and I
it
think
has to
that
be different. Mm-hmm.
it's a really hard sell to be like, oh, you can sort of go outside again, but like why don't you watch the same like dungeon every week? um
Mm-hmm.
and in this content law.
Mm-hmm.
um so you don't know if like some person was like, to meet your metrics there must be X amount of esports events put out by the company, and then it's like, okay, well I guess we're gonna have to do all these cups to
Yeah.
meet our numerical goal. You don't know if that goes scenes. Um, but yeah, I don't think Blizzard can instantly respond to this. But it does show that maybe in the short term things were okay-ish a few years ago, but they didn't lay a strong foundation, and now uh now we're sort of in a sad position where they need more investments to have a long-term gain, and there's nothing really easy they can do to just bring things up.
Yeah.
So we also have a little bit of some spicy classic news, but before we move into classic, just a quick reminder: Noble Garden has started this morning You might notice little eggs on the site. After the show, I'm going to work with SAS to put up the Noble Garden giveaway. It's always like very interactive where you find clues on various database pages. If you find more clues, you have more chance to enter. And no real update except if you are the Venthyr in the Ember Court. There is an egg hunt, and you can get more bonus reputation, and it works with Darkmoon Fair. So do that if you haven't at this
I
point.
noticed that on my
Um,
priest.
yeah, I wish more. What's it called? I wish more covenants got holiday
Like
things.
special. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I think Noble Garden would fit really well with, Ardenweald with the nature theme. Or I
Mm-hmm.
think it would also be hilarious if you had, Maldraxxus with all this, heavy metal and then it's like egg.
Yeah, like cute little eggs here.
Yeah. So but yeah, so why
Yeah,
don't we
on to
discuss
classic things. Mm-hmm.
and the very interesting news we have with Classic. The first thing is that Omar Gonzalez, the engineer at Activision Blizzard, who was like super integral to creating Classic WoW, has left Blizzard for Dreamhaven, the studio that Mike Moore set up.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah. This is what Ian Hazakostas just said, just if you not sure who he is. He said, an engineer named Omar Gonzalez, classic team, tried the method of taking the modern client, the modern server, and teaching it to interpret the old 1.112 classic data. He kind of locked himself away for a few weeks and came out with something that was a prototype. It was very rough, contained tons of bugs. The world wasn't fully rendered, but it was the original classic world pre-cataclysm. It had the original skills and talents, and we knew there was a ton of work to do, but we felt like we realized for the first time we can do this.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course that leads to more speculation as to what was going on if essentially, someone created this game and now Blizzard is trying to tweak it with Burning Crusade. Did he why did he leave? There wasn't a post on this. We learned about it from Kevin Jordan on Twitch, who was um, an original developer on Blizzard for World of Warcraft, focusing on class design. Um,
Yeah,
and
it
he,
mm-hmm.
yeah, go ahead.
No, you finish.
Oh, I was saying that he said in the stream that he left Activision Blizzard to go work on Secret Door, which was like the more kind of indie small studio that Dreamhaven was developing. And he also was speculating that maybe things like the mount or some changes or the transactional hints in Burning Crusade were things that he disagreed with, but we don't have an official statement, so we can't confirm or deny that. But of course, people will talk if someone who basically created Classic WoW is now working on other properties soon after we see Burning Crusade with rumors that you might pay for clones or have to pay for boosts or all these things muddying the water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I was going to add to it with saying that Omar was a huge reason to why Classic came to be in the first place, and he
Mm.
also had a huge role in streams when the Classic just came out as for beta testing, and
Yeah.
it's kind of scary seeing him leave. I mean, maybe there is no reason at all, and he just got a better offer somewhere else, right? But it's still kind of worrying because he had so much passion in what he was doing, and he's been working for Blizzard. I think it said for 18 years, was it?
Yeah, that's a
Um,
lot.
a really long time. So, what made him decide to leave? Is it really just, a pay raise from somewhere else, or is there more to it? Maybe, like you said, um, that he's unhappy with the direction that the TBC is going towards. And people have shown a lot of concerns about that in general lately with the mount, like you mentioned, it's been data mined, the idea of a boosted character. Um, The
The really
idea,
expensive cloning service.
cloning service potentially being
Yeah.
very expensive, which we're going to talk about very soon actually as well, because that was
Yeah.
part of the survey. Just so many factors that give us reason to be worried about TBC, and instead of having these really important figures within the classic like dev community or like Blizzard community leave Blizzard, makes us wonder like what's going on. It's I think it's reasonable to be kind of concerned when he leaves at this point of time when TBC is just around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, I think that on one hand, with the rise of social media, and people reporting on more aspects of the news than they did in the past, that we know more about people leaving than we did before. Like, Wowhead a few years ago wasn't reporting on, everyone's comings and goings. So I think that we are drawing more attention to it now. But on the other hand, um, yeah, also people have left Blizzard. Like, there's so many ex Blizzard studios, but there are only so many senior people at the top that you can say, oh, they created this game and then they left. It's like there's only like one Mike Morheim, and he left, and it's only one guy who made the prototype for Classic, and he left. So it does seem like uh people are leaving, in greater amounts. The layoff waves are more frequent, even if we are drawing more attention to them. Like, there is still an increased amount of this activity going on, than there wasn't a few years ago. Even things like, offices being closed, like, the Versailles office was
Yeah.
around a
Mm-hmm.
really long time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I do think it is concerning. Also, we've highlighted this before, but if you look at the Dreamhaven website and even Secret Door, like, it does kind of read like an elaborate subtweet um of Blizzard. Um it's I'm just scrolling down and reading some of the pages. There were some parts I looked at and I was like, yeah, yeah, like, I'm looking at this. Nimble, stay small, adapt, make an impact. And you're just like, wow, like that.
Stay
Sounds like,
small. Yeah.
yeah. Enduring, build a sustainable home for creators. I'm like, well, we're just talking about the, MDI not being sustainable for creators. Um,
Oh, is that mentioned
bring
specifically?
people.
That's interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
They
For
specifically
creators.
said, yeah, yeah. It is specifically on this secret door thing, which I did not see before. I think they added it pretty recently. It's got this retro vibe that's very different from the fantasy vibe of the main Dreamhaven site,
Mm-hmm.
which also has like a lot of things. Like, I'm clicking on the goals for Dreamhaven, and
Mm-hmm.
the page is taking a while to load.
That's okay. In case
Um,
people are confused about
yeah,
what Perk is reading here, so she's
yeah,
reading the information that they have on Dreamhaven's website,
yeah.
and with what was the thing underneath it called? I don't want to say the
Secret Door,
secret door. That's
which
it.
is Dreamhaven has several studios under its umbrella,
Mm-hmm.
and Secret, like the indie, like smaller vibe that they're giving off.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And
but
this
yeah,
is the
so now,
company that Olmar is now leaving Blizzard for.
yeah, that Mike Morheim created.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
Yes.
reading the About Us page, and it's talking about, we believe in shared values, purpose, and trust are required to create an environment that cultivates creativity and innovation. Strong teams that learn and evolve over time are more valuable than individual products or ideas. We want to take the chances that most big publishers won't, and many small studios aren't always able to. Um, we want to reimagine the studio model by empowering studios to establish independent identities, voices, and cultures. Um, our teams have the freedom and flexibility to express their individuality through their games in their own unique voices. And it's you're definitely like, this sort of seems like, shots fired at Blizzard, with
Yeah.
the criticisms that, games take a while, or they have lost some of their polish, or it seems like they are following like corporate metrics and not the old school values, and less risks over time. So it definitely sounds like they are deliberately changing. And if you even scroll down to um the people working on the game, their about us sections.
Oh, seems like Perk might be gone. I'm gonna just hide her screen for a second, making sure that I'm still streaming so it's not on my end. Okay, give me a second. Let's see if we can reconnect with her. Oh, she can still hear me. Okay, I'm gonna change the region, see if that helps. Okay, I changed region. Tech issues. You know, always more risk of that when everything is live. I'm not sure if she can still hear me. Let's see. Let's try to restart this call. I think she might be trying to restart. Yeah, Perk just vanished. You know, she as a night elf she is, being a rogue sometimes. So she just decided to vanish. Yeah, let's give her a minute. She can hear me again. Go for it. Oh, no, no, no. I see you. I saw you. Hi.
Okay.
Hi. Yeah, okay.
Hi. Yeah, that was weird. Like when you changed the region, it DC'd me, and then it took a while, so I just restarted. But yeah, can people see me again?
In 1 second. I just need to full screen you. And then you should be good. Yep, there we go. You're back.
Yeah, so I'm not sure where I cut off, but I was reading some of the values about Dreamhaven,
Mm-hmm.
the studio Warheim founded that Omar Gonzalez, who kind of created classic WoW, is now working at. And if you scroll down on the Dreamhaven website, so many people that were formerly Blizzard are now there, not just developers, but artists, publishing, design,
Yeah, all type of
recruiting,
roles. Mm-hmm.
human resources. Like a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
um used to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely seems like if you like the old school way of doing things at Blizzard, Dreamhaven, wants you.
Yeah.
um so yeah, in other classic news, we're going to cover something that Annie thought was an April Fool's joke.
Yeah, I admit, I sent this to Perk today and I was like, so was this part of April Fool's or was this real?
No, it's on the
Oh.
PTR. Blizzard, the World Buff issue has been like a pretty hot topic in Classic era, because basically you get all your world buffs, and then you raid log because you want all buffs to be, up when you want to parse, and only, one character can turn it in. You can't turn them in repeatedly on the same character, so it's limited.
So
And
you just
it's kind of,
log out to
yeah,
keep your
you just
buffs.
you don't play WoW, which is strange.
Yeah, the
So
best way to play is
um,
to not play.
people have been sort of asking Blizzard to maybe change this when this became more of a thing, and it kind of feels like the change is sort of late. But we think in the pre-patch, well, it's on the PTR now, and Blizzard has announced that finally they're going to do something about world buffs, and they made this item called the Chrono Boon Displacer, where it's a sort of complicated on the PTR, but basically the item takes a snapshot of your world buffs so you can use them at a later time. And
Mm-hmm.
ideally, this should encourage raiders to play their characters outside of raid, instead of logging off to preserve your buffs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, there is some concern that PvP, the open world PvP, to gank people and have them lose their buffs, that tension would be lost. But a lot of people think that to solve the issue of raid logging, that this will improve it in some form.
Mm-hmm. And you can still get ganked in between, right? You can get ganked between
Yeah.
getting your first buff and then the second buff, and like there's still some aspects of PvP in it. I think this is a pretty smart solution because there were a lot of solutions being thrown out there in terms of how this is meant to be fixed. Like we have like the Asian servers, for example, with the Onyxia
Yeah.
buff, where you don't have to hand in the quest; you just go to the NPC and you get the buff.
Hmm.
And yeah, there's many different solutions that have been suggested, and it seems like this is the route that they're most happy with. And I don't know, like this magical added item into classic that will keep your buffs. I had to double check with Perk. I was like, is this April Fool's or is this real?
Yeah.
And then she's like, no, it's actually on PTR. I was like, okay, well, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. I think it sounds great. Obviously, maybe other people have different opinions. That maybe the best thing would be to ask people who actually do parse and do this like buff stacking. Since I don't play as seriously as maybe those people do, but it sounds at least in theory like a great idea. And I don't know. Have you seen comments of how was these news received by people? Are people generally
Yeah.
happy about this
So I
or?
was talking to Rockman about this leading up because the initial responses I saw were positive, and I was
Mm-hmm.
curious what he thought as a raider and caster, and he was saying it's a mix, but everyone on the spectrum seems to think it will fix the raid logging issue, and that is like way more important than the PvP raid griefing.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are in support of it. They may think it could be better or it ruins the open world PvP, but it
Mm-hmm.
definitely deals with raid logging. Some people say that they hate it, but they're going to use it, every week, or they hate it, but they don't like anything about classic WoW. There are some
Great
people that are like,
input.
I'm
Horrible
done.
idea. Also horrible
Just
game, by the way.
yeah, I don't care. Tell me about TBC, or I'm a casual. What's a world buff? I'm a retail baby.
Was
So,
this some kind of
but yeah,
survey or what was this?
we were just, he wrote the article, so I was asking him. I'm like, so what are the
Oh,
responses? I was like, because
gotcha.
when I look at the comments, they seem positive, but a week later, like, do people still like this, or have people found some loophole where now it's like bad again? But it
Yeah.
seems that people are still mostly in support of this.
Okay.
Do you think it would have been interesting if they did it sooner? Because
That's the
if they
next
do,
thing I was gonna ask. Yeah.
yeah.
Like, why
I mean,
now?
I don't know if it's like new leadership or if they were empowered by like the success of some Burning Crusade changes, like seeing how much people wanted drums to be different. So they're like, okay, like people hate this part of TBC, like, maybe we could change something in Classic. Or maybe they think, maybe it goes back to like business metrics, like you made a game that people don't want to play and so they can play better in raids. Like that's not the behavior they're after. Um
Maybe the no changes movement was also so strong that they wouldn't dare do anything like that. Maybe
right.
in a way they wanted people to experience how quote unquote bad it is so they can be reminded instead of looking at things from like a nostalgic point of view. Because I could imagine honestly if this was introduced at the beginning that people would be angry at Blizzard for not allowing them to experience the World Buff Gathering how it was originally done. Um, but waiting this long, maybe they could have done it after a
Yeah.
few raid tiers or something. I'm not sure what the best way of bringing something like this into the picture is because adding that and then adding all these other things to do with TBC coming out suddenly feels like hashtag lots of changes, because they
Right.
all were kind of suddenly added. Even to just the classic version of things, there's changes. And yes, it's very interesting timing of things because classic is pretty much over. So this would essentially be a change for the people who are playing classic era because for TBC, there's not going to be any world buffs.
Right. It's like
So, mm-hmm,
it would make sense if they did it earlier, because if they did it slightly earlier, like obviously not at launch, but if they did it a little bit earlier, it could have a fair shot. Like,
mm-hmm,
people would be focusing on rating in Classic, and they could say, oh, we implemented this, and then people spent more time playing our game. But now it's weirder because when Burning Crusade comes out, it might be like, oh, well,
You
we
don't know.
implemented this,
Mm-hmm.
and like, you know, we saw like all these people stop playing WoW, and it's like, well, that's because they're going to the Burning Crusade server. They're not
Yeah.
playing Classic era,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it seems like that's it's not really effective at showing if this made a big impact or not.
Mm-hmm. I think it would
So
have been interesting to just introduce it like with Nax, for example, especially with Nax, because I think Nax was difficult for a lot of guilds. The difficulty jump was quite a bit higher than the other ones. So
yeah.
I know for on my server, almost said in Swedish, for example, till exempel. So I know, for example, on my server, there were a lot of guilds that were disbanding because they couldn't keep up with the 40-man raids. And especially when they couldn't progress fast enough, people got impatient, started joining other guilds. So I think having the reduction of the world buff issue might have made things a little bit easier to keep guilds feeling alive. If they could save the world buffs for the bosses that they were especially struggling on, for example. But maybe that in a way would have ruined things. I don't know.
Yeah. It does seem like Blizzard is trying to cut down on similar things happening in Burning Crusade. Lots of world buffs aren't as much of an issue because they got, level caps, they weren't as strong as 70. But they made a blue post right after stating that the world buffs in Burning Crusade will be cleared um when you engage with a boss.
What
Which,
was that
they just
specified? That it's a boss?
they said, I think they specifically said the word boss, which, then leads to the discussion of, well, if you're still, speed clearing, you still want whatever buffs Blizzard is talking about for,
Oh, you're
the
lagging.
trash. Just, is this better?
Still a bit laggy. You can change the server if you want to something
Yeah.
closer to yours.
And I just had a thing popped up on my screen that my desktop was trying to sync up with my laptop right when you said I was lagging. So I
Okay.
wonder if
So it's
whenever
using
it
your
does that,
connection. Yeah.
yeah, I wonder. No, don't use my connection. Stop. Go away.
Yeah, stop it, laptop.
Yeah. Okay. No intranet on the MacBook that has my notes up. Um.
Oh, it stopped.
Yeah, because I just turned the internet off on the other device.
Perfect. You're good
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um.
Mhm.
So they said can you make an option where we can do the raid without world buffs? That's the direction we intend to go in Burning Crusade Classic. We intend to have world buffs removed at the start of raid encounters. We are moving away from world buffs in Burning Crusade Classic. So
Mm.
people assumed raid encounter would mean boss, and then they're wondering if like you would want, buffs for, I don't know, like
Yeah,
clearing Sunwell
maximize the time for
trash.
all the trash.
Like
Yeah.
there is a lot of Sunwell trash before you
Mhm.
get to the boss.
Mhm.
Um so yeah, I mean, but it seems that if they're saying we want to move away from world buffs and Burning Crusade, maybe they will fine tune this if they don't want that to be a thing.
Yeah, I think
So
that's interesting. So simplifying the world buff situation in classic, and for TBC, just moving away from it completely. Um, maybe they'll make it so as soon as you enter the instance, your buffs will just be gone. Um, I guess we'll see how they decide to do that with their hashtag some changes going on right now. We don't know what to expect.
right.
Everything could
Um
change.
yeah, speaking of things that could change or unknown, we had this WoW Classic survey, and Blizzard keeps
Mm-hmm.
releasing these, and
Yeah.
then they're like surprised. They're like, it's like top secret, do not leak, and then 10 minutes later we get like 10 emails to Wowhead being like, I got this survey. Do you want to cover it? And we're like, okay. But yeah, there was a survey. It had a lot of questions about Shadowlands, about like what you like doing in the game, kind of generic stuff. But the more interesting part was about the cost of cloning service, where that means that you can put your same character on the classic era and Burning Crusade servers.
Mm-hmm.
And that was interesting because they sent people different amounts. So like some people were like, how do you feel about paying $9.99? And then other people got one that was like, how do you feel about paying $40? And it's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a big difference. Let me show
yeah,
a screenshot of one of the examples. So this was a survey question to one person out there who got the number 29.99. So the idea has been, it seems, from Blizzard that they send out different amounts to different people, probably to get an idea of at what cutoff do most people say somewhat likely, maybe. I'm not
yeah.
sure. And so it goes, it's ranging, it seems, all the way from 9.99 to what was the highest one? Was it 39.99?
39.99.
Yeah.
And that's interesting because this is separate from the level 58 boost, which we think you will have to pay for, but will be only limited to one per account. So you could, I guess, in theory, pay for a boost and then pay to have that be cloned as well. Or you could clone multiple characters. So the
Mm-hmm.
money could really add up, but these are all things we do not know the amounts for right now.
Yeah, that's also a very good point. You may want multiple characters cloned, so this
Mm.
clone should definitely be a much lower price. But I guess
Yeah,
we'll see what they decide. I'm still a
yeah,
little bit unsure whether this should even cost in the first place, but I kind of
yeah.
understand because it's like doubling the resources that they're putting, or like doubling the resource and like what's the word demand on every single
Mhm.
server out there, because that means that you've played your character once, but now you're getting your character in two different places. Like you're copying so much data. So I understand that they're trying to make it like a meaningful choice in a way, but if you could just pay money to get away from that meaningful choice, maybe it should just be free.
Yeah. Um, Also, there were some questions about bots, which many players had. They've been concerned about that throughout all of WoW Classic. Um, and there's an even greater worry now that the number of bots will increase with the level 58 boost. So there are some questions about, how do you report bots? Do you use this method? Have you heard of this method? How bad do you think bots are of an issue? Like, does it affect you a lot or not really? So hopefully they can get some good, meaningful data about that because a lot of people playing regularly are very unhappy with the situation with bots, and it's kind of ruined the experience of the game. I think, especially when you couple it with the raid logging, like you just the bots are the, the ones that have the main reason to log on and do things frequently in classic. The people at the high end need to log off to preserve their buffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point.
So, but yeah, as usual, this was a survey. We were not sent it, but it was making its way around public discords and our feedback inbox. I almost wonder if Blizzard, like, maybe they like purposely make it feel like a leak, like, don't post this, don't share this, because they keep getting shared within minutes of it going
Yep.
out to, thousands of players.
It's like
And then
they're.
people are like, yeah, go ahead.
You can finish your sentence first.
Well, it's like people, on the WoW comments, they're like, I wasn't given the survey, but like, here's an essay. Like, I think bots are super, aggravating. Here's why. And I'd pay this amount, but not that. Like, it just, when people read about this, secret survey, it makes them want to add their 2 cents and they get even more feedback.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say I was gonna bring back the head title of the April
Mm-hmm.
Fool's joke page that they made. Um,
Yeah.
so this is by Blizzard. World of Warcraft patch 90505. This is an early draft version. Please don't share this document on any public drives. Thank you. It just reminded me of that when you put it like that.
Yeah.
But these always get
So,
leaked, and it's interesting with having a different price for all the different server people.
yeah, I mean, we learned about Burning Crusade from a leak. That was like, how do you feel about Burning Crusade? And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh. Um, But yeah, besides that, as we wrap up the show, just want to do some quick recaps on what's going on with Wowhead. With add-ons enabled, we are working on getting the Wowhead add-on up to speed, so you can start submitting more data, and then that
Mm-hmm.
helps us get NPCs and quests. That won't be level 70 stuff because you actually need to do um, you need to like loot the mob or do the quest in order for that to show up on the site in the cap 68. But the add-on should be ready soonish.
Mm-hmm.
We activated the dressing room for Burning Crusade, so you can make Blood Elves and Draenei and like all the lower resolution races and try on all the Burning Crusade armor. And I think going out today, we're gonna have more item filters going out for the Burning Crusade stats that were added, as well as we've been playing around with stat tooltips because they're kind of inaccurate on the beta. They're not showing a lot of like secondary stats or things like equip increases spell power.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're weird. They're using retail display, but they've got the classic data hidden in there. So we've been
Yeah.
trying over the last week to like show what the stats should actually be like, even though they're not exactly how Blizzard shows them in game. And we've been like doing lots of little modifications to get the wording and the layout right. Like it's not, plus 10 defense. It's like equip increases your defense rating by 10. So we've been trying to move stuff around to um we try to
To make
have it
it,
line up with the beta,
yeah.
but it's like not if no one knows what the item does, then we'll you know try to break with Blizzard and show what's more useful.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But yeah,
And yeah, that's about
having
it.
running the Wowhead add-on is really helpful for the website to be more up to date. So,
Hmm.
just a subtle shout out to all the people who do use the add-on and send in their data. It's thanks to you guys that then other people can look things up to get data on things like drop rates and things like that. Because if you don't have anyone looting or showing or sharing their data on the looting, then people will not be able to see what the drop rates of different things are. So, um, I think it's the same for retail actually. It's just it becomes more apparent in these things when you have different versions of games. Like you have classic, you have vanilla, you have TBC, then you have classic TBC, and yeah. So Perk was just going through how that can be a bit of a kerfuffle sometimes.
Yeah. So we are still working on other things, improving the layout of the raid comp tool, working on an attunement tracker. Now that the items are showing better stats and the filters are in, we can work on the gear planner, getting that up to date. A lot of guides are coming along. So, yeah, we're in pretty good shape for, the beta being 2 weeks old. We had like much more time to work on the classic site because between the demo and beta there was like several months of emptiness that we could work on the site. So
Mm-hmm.
we are in really great shape for 2 weeks, even though we know there's a lot more stuff people want to see on the site. We're adding it as fast as we can, especially with things like April Fools coming, other
Mm-hmm.
things that need to get done. But yeah, so that is about it for the show.
Yep,
um
that is a wrap up. I want to give Lincoln82 a quick shout out for
yeah.
resubbing for 39 months.
Wow, that is a really long time. That's
That's a
awesome.
long, long time. Thank you very much for supporting Wowhead.
Yeah.
And
So
yeah, I think that's about it. That's about it for now.
as you're talking, I'm picking him up so we can say goodbye.
Okay,
Let's say
sounds great. Yeah, the show was a little bit longer today, actually. It was a little bit longer.
hi. Come here, little one. Come
Hopefully,
here.
these type of discussions are interesting for you guys. I know I can myself sometimes get a little bit over passionate about certain things, so I end up talking a lot. There we go. We got Brightpaw. Hi, Brightpaw.
Yep, he's here to say the goodbyes and do his high five.
Oh, perfect. Oh, let's do the high five before your arm gets locked.
Yes.
Go.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and count it.
Okay. Three, two, one.
Yeah, that was a snapping finger, which was the high five.
Right, paw. Wave to everyone. Be a good boy.
Oh.
There we go. He's looking and he's waving at the same
Oh,
time.
look at that. Brightpaw waving. Oh. This
He's
is
such a
really
good boy.
adorable. Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, he's also yawning. He's sleepy.
He's like, oh, it's a camera. I need to look cute.
Yeah. But yeah, we will be
Oh, yeah.
back next week with whatever happens between now and then. Also, next week should be Perk's birthday. Happy
Yeah,
early birthday, Perk.
too. So I know you're
Yeah,
working
my
hard on your
birthday is this
birthday
week
stream.
too.
Yeah.
It's so funny that our birthdays are within a week of each other. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, lots of birthdays. I do feel like there's so many birthdays going on right now. I don't know if it's just myself noticing it more, or whether there's I just happen to be following people who have birthdays around mine. I don't know. But my Twitter feed is like full of birthdays right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, we will see you all next week. Thank you guys very much for watching. Oh, there was one question that I didn't address that was in the chat.
Oh, it's okay.
I don't know if you're here now, but I randomly just remembered it. Somebody asked what the chances are for seeing more CGI cinematics. He was giving the Sarfang cinematics as examples from BFA, and we do think that we're going to see more of those. I think he was wondering specifically. I'm like photographic memory trying to remember the message.
Okay.
He was specifically mentioning due to Corona, I believe. And I think, as most things, as we have seen, it might be some delays in things, but it's kind of like delays in everything then, not just the cinematics.
Yeah. I feel like they said the art was ahead of schedule for Shadowlands, so I think cinematics falls under art. But it's also like if they have a really cool 9-1 cinematic done, they can't release it because the story isn't done yet.
Yeah. So
You
that's
know,
definitely possible.
like I'm sure it would be used to show some big plot twist, but we
Mm-hmm.
just haven't had that yet.
Oh, he's still here. Great. Yeah, I remember the question being asked in the middle of something else, and I just remembered. So, yeah. We do try to keep track of questions and answer them whenever possible. Sometimes by just talking about the things that I mentioned or specifically specifying. Specifying it. Are those his paws in the air?
Yes, that's his paws in the air.
Like,
And one's
yeah,
up
I'm
by my
sleeping
elbow,
now.
by my armpit. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. But yeah. See y'all next week. Thank you again for watching, and yeah, thank you all for supporting Wowhead.
Yep. Have a great week.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Just
Oh
hit
my
myself.
God, don't show your butt.
Bye.
Bye.